Today, we're embarking on a deep analysis of a burden that is, well, it's often invisible, but it's so profoundly draining. We're talking about the burden of clutter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about a scenario that I think almost everyone has faced, right? That sudden panic when you need an urgent document, maybe a receipt or some crucial bit of information.
Oh, I know this feeling.
And the search for it just it turns your desk or maybe your whole living space into this frantic, anxiety-fueled battleground. You can feel the panic rising. Your stress just spikes.
And then you're exhausted. Suddenly you're just completely wiped out.
Exactly. And it's not from work. It's from the chaos of your own environment.
That moment of exhaustion is so telling. Or, maybe it's something more subtle, something more constant. Like that one chair in the corner of your bedroom.
The chair. Everyone has the chair.
Everyone has the chair. Or that corner of the garage piled high with things you haven't touched in, years? You see it every day.
Yeah.
And every day you just, you make a conscious choice to ignore it, to look past it.
Yep.
Out of sight, out of mind. Or so you think.
Well, that's just it. The evidence we've gathered suggests that your subconscious mind, that powerful engine that's always running in the background, is perpetually processing that mess. And that subconscious processing, according to the sources we've explored, is what's generating this unnecessary, profound fatigue that we often just write off as stress or, being physically tired.
Exactly. So this deep dive, it really goes far beyond the surface level of, physical inconvenience or just being disorganized. It asserts that this is fundamentally an energy problem.
That's the key.
Our primary source material today is derived from an analysis of Karen Kingston's profound work, specifically the summary of her book, Clear Your Clutter with Feng Shui. And the core premise she establishes is, it's startlingly clear.
Yeah, it really is. She says every single unused item in your home is not inert. It's not just sitting there.
No, it's actively sucking your mental and vital energy. It's like a tiny, persistent drain. It creates this mental confusion. It weakens your ability to make clear decisions. And critically, it blocks the pathways for positive opportunities and good energy, or qi in Feng Shui terms, from flowing freely into your home and, by extension, into your life.
What's fascinating here is just how sophisticated this burden is. Kingston argues that the energy behind closed doors or hidden away in corners, like in that overflowing closet or attic.
The stuff you've dealt with by hiding it.
Right. She says that stuff actually holds a tighter grip on your daily life than the obvious mess you can see on the kitchen counter.
And that seems counterintuitive, but it makes perfect sense. When something is put away, out of sight, we dismiss it. We think, okay, problem solved. But energetically, it's demanding even more from us because we're constantly spending subconscious effort not just to contain it, but to actively avoid dealing with it.
It's the constant knowledge that a problem exists, even if you've shut the door on it.
Precisely.
Okay, let's unpack this premise fully. Our mission today is to conduct a really thorough analysis of this invisible burden. We want to understand the psychological roots of why we cling to things we don't need.
And identify the specific energetic costs of different kinds of mess.
And then, ultimately, extract the most actionable strategies for clearing out that physical and mental mess that has been quietly holding us back. This isn't just a spring cleaning guide.
Not at all.
This is more like an energy redirection project. The goal is to upgrade your life force. So when most of us think about decluttering, our minds immediately go to, the visible chaos, the dust, the scattered objects, the messy stacks of paper.
The physical stuff.
Right. But Kingston argues that if we want real relief, we have to completely redefine what clutter actually is. True clutter, in the Feng Shui context, is something that is intensely felt. It's not just seen.
It's that heavy, dense, stagnant feeling. The one you can't quite put your finger on, but it's there. It's in the air.
That takes us directly to the foundational concept in Feng Shui, which is qi, or positive life energy. Clutter isn't just poor organization. It is, quite literally, a physical and energetic speed breaker on that flow of positive energy.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. When you look at the ideal state of a home, the energy, the qi, it should move like fresh water in a mountain stream. Clear, clean, always moving, always refreshing the space.
Right. But the moment we start accumulating items we don't actively use or love or need, those items act like obstructions. They're like a dam.
And they just stop that natural, refreshing flow.
And what happens to water when it's stopped? When it just pools and stands for too long?
It becomes stale, becomes stagnant. The Hindi source we looked at uses the word bossy, which is just so evocative.
It's perfect.
It perfectly captures that quality of being heavy and sluggish and just unappealing. It's energy that's lost its vitality.
So that heavy, bossy energy is the direct culprit. It's what's behind that feeling of being constantly fatigued or easily irritable, and this is the big one, that sense of being chronically stuck in your life.
Exactly. If the energy in your home is stagnant, your own internal energy starts to mirror that state. It's a very practical, almost literal translation. Blocked physical space translates directly to blocked potential in your career, in your relationships, in your health.
We see this principle play out so vividly in the anecdote about a woman named Neha. She was described as just exceptionally talented, highly capable, a person who really should have been thriving professionally, but her career had just flatlined for years. No growth, no advancement.
And you'd think the problem was at her office.
Of course, but the physical root cause, astonishingly, wasn't in her workspace at all. It was in a closed-off room in her home, her storeroom.
And this ties right back to that initial point we made about the stuff behind closed doors having an even tighter grip. Neha's storeroom was basically a museum of her past.
What was in there?
Oh, old college projects she'd finished years ago, broken electronics she swore she was going to fix someday, and maybe the most toxic of all, gifts and mementos from people she no longer had good relationships with. Or relationships that had ended badly. And she kept that door shut tight, assuming the problem was contained, invisible. But Kingston stresses that the act of avoidance actually grants that stagnant energy more control over your subconscious life.
Because you're actively avoiding confronting it.
Exactly.
Okay, I have to push back on that slightly, just for clarity, for the listener. I get the cognitive drain, the I should really clean that thought every time you walk past the door. But why do the specific contents matter so much? Is it just the volume of stuff, or is it the story those items are telling?
It's absolutely the story. It's what we're calling the energy code that's the real issue. The contents of Neha's storeroom were constantly communicating these silent messages to her subconscious.
What kind of messages?
Well, the old college work was saying you are still defined by your student self. The broken electronics were signaling you are connected to broken things. You are living a life of disrepair. And the mementos from those strained relationships, they were anchoring her to past bitterness, to unresolved emotional trauma, even hidden away. The mere presence of these things ensures that that energy code, that story, is perpetually running in the background of her life.
It's an internal narrative being fueled by physical objects. That's a powerful connection.
It's everything. And this is why the first most crucial step in clearing clutter isn't the physical act of organizing. It's the conscious recognition of this communication. Every item in your house is actively talking to you.
Some items are saying good things.
Yes, some say, I am beautiful, I bring you joy, move forward, embrace possibility. They encourage growth.
But others
silently command, stay anchored here, stay where you are. You are defined by this past failure. And Kingston's unequivocal about this. The only items you should keep are those that actively help you move forward, the ones that support your life right now or that bring you genuine joy.
So if an object is just silent or boring, or it speaks of a past you've moved beyond,
it has become a liability, and it needs to be discharged from your energetic payroll.
This is where it gets really interesting, I think. Moving from the energetic symptoms to the psychological roots. We, as intelligent, rational adults, we know we have things that we'll never use again.
We know.
We know they're physically cluttering our lives, and yet we cling to them for years, sometimes decades. We often spend more energy storing the thing than the thing itself is even worth. So why do we do that? It clearly goes so much deeper than just procrastination or, being lazy.
Oh, absolutely transcends any kind of surface behavior.
Yeah.
Kingston's work identifies 3 profound psychological drivers behind why we accumulate stuff. And understanding these drivers fundamentally transforms clutter removal from this tiresome chore into an act of self-therapy.
And freedom.
And profound mental freedom. The first driver, and maybe the most emotionally potent one, is being anchored to the past. This is the driver of nostalgia.
The nostalgia piece, it's so powerful because it's usually rooted in really beautiful memories. Things remind us of a specific person, a successful time in our lives.
A cherished moment we want to hold on to forever.
And the classic example is the woman keeping her 20-year-old wedding dress. She hasn't worn it since the day she got married. It probably doesn't fit anymore, and she has zero practical intention of ever wearing it again.
Right. For her, that dress isn't just a piece of clothing anymore. It's not just silk and lace. It's been energetically transmuted into an entryway to memories. It's a physical portal back to the emotion and the excitement of that day.
So it's not the dress, it's the feeling.
Exactly. And while sentimental items are vital, of course they are, the problem arises when they become numerous and unused, and most importantly, when they start exerting this powerful, energetic pull that ties a huge part of our mental and emotional life to yesterday. The issue isn't the beauty of the past. It's when the past prevents you from fully investing your energy in today.
So, okay, we need to distinguish between cherishing a memory and physically anchoring ourselves to the time period of that memory.
Precisely. Cherish the memory, but let the physical object go if it no longer serves your present self. Now, the second major driver is a complete contradiction to the first. It's the fear of the future. This is what manifests as the dreaded just-in-case mentality.
Ah, yes, the just-in-case pile.
A mentality born out of deep insecurity and a fear of future lack.
It's the fear that says, if I get rid of this broken blender or this half-used roll of duct tape today, I won't have what I need when I suddenly, inexplicably, need it 6 months from now.
That thought process is the core of the psychological block. These just-in-case items, the spare parts, the expired canned goods, the clothes you keep just because you might need them someday, they're profound symbols of fear and scarcity.
So if you look in your storage spaces and you see a lot of that stuff,
You are essentially broadcasting a subconscious message, either to the universe or just to your own internal operating system, that you do not trust life to provide for you. You're operating from a core belief that resources are scarce, that the future is uncertain and probably dangerous.
that is an incredibly heavy weight to carry.
Yeah.
To operate daily under that psychological blanket of fear, just constantly hoarding against a disaster that probably won't happen.
It's a huge burden. And then we come to the third driver, which is all about projecting self-worth. It's identity and ownership. This is the driver that forces us to accumulate things because we believe our possessions define who we are.
This is the idea that I am what I own.
Exactly. The source gives this really insightful example of someone who curates a massive, overflowing library. They might not have read half the books, but the full, towering shelves communicate this projected image to the world and, crucially, to themselves, that they are intellectual, learned, a serious thinker.
So the objects are props.
They're props for a carefully constructed but energetically exhausting projected identity. The possession is doing the work that a person's self-worth should be doing.
So if we look at the whole cycle, the reasons for keeping clutter are entirely about time and psychology. You're either clinging to a beautiful past, panicking over a fearful future, or projecting a false identity in the present.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, just recognizing these psychological anchors, it changes everything. Decluttering is no longer just a chore. It becomes this deeply empowering act of freedom from the burden of the past and an assertion of trust in the future. You are choosing your present and future self over the weight of your history.
Okay, so moving beyond the psychological why, Kingston gives us this incredibly useful framework for categorization, the what. According to Feng Shui, clutter isn't just one big homogeneous mass of mess.
No, it's specific.
It falls into 4 distinct types, and understanding which type you're dealing with is essential because each one extracts a specific identifiable energetic cost.
And that specificity is so key. If you know the type of clutter, you know the precise negative emotional tax it's charging you. The first category is, well, it's maybe the most emotionally draining unwanted items. The source calls it the guilt clutter.
This is the stuff that logically should be the easiest to get rid of. You don't use it, and worse, you don't even like it. Yet we struggle so much with it.
We struggle because they're often gifts. We keep them purely out of obligation or fear of offending someone. The classic example is that horrendous painting hanging in your living room or that ugly vase on the mantelpiece. You hate it, you never wanted it, but you keep it out of a misguided sense of loyalty to the person who gave it to you.
And Kingston notes that these specific items, these unwanted gifts, hold the absolute most negative energy. Why is the energetic toll of guilt clutter higher than, say, a huge pile of old newspapers?
Because every single time your eyes pass over that unwanted object, that ugly painting, that unused gift, it generates a small but persistent spark of negative emotion. Guilt, burden, resentment, obligation. It's a constant low-grade energetic irritant that pollutes your personal space.
So you're basically sacrificing your own peace for a social debt that you think you still owe.
You're sacrificing your peace for a long-ago perceived social debt.
Exactly.
It's toxic to your peace of mind.
That makes perfect sense. The emotional friction is just perpetual. Okay, the second category is one we were all guilty of, I think, especially now. Disorganized but useful items.
Mhm. These are the essential things, the critical papers, the ongoing bills, the necessary files, your work stuff. But they're simply scattered, unsorted, and chaotic. That perpetually messy office desk is the perfect image.
So unlike the unwanted painting, you need these items.
You need them, but their total disorganization creates immediate confusion. It spikes your stress, and it actively reduces your power to focus because your brain is constantly scanning and searching for things.
Right. You're expending mental resources trying to find things that are physically there but functionally lost.
Precisely. The energetic cost here is all about cognitive bandwidth. It's the stress of the chase, the frustration, the inability to just sit down and instantly get what you need. It turns efficiency into a struggle.
Okay, so the third type shifts the focus from individual objects to the overall feel of the room. Too much stuff in a small space. This isn't about things being scattered, it's about sheer density.
Yeah, the overpopulation of a room. When we overcrowd a room with too much furniture or too many decorations or shelves just jammed tight with collections, we violate a core principle of Feng Shui. You need empty space for qi to flow.
And when you eliminate that space,
The energy stagnates immediately. The resulting feeling in that room is one of agitation, restlessness, and often a literal feeling of being suffocated, physically and mentally. If the room feels heavy and can't breathe, the people in it will feel heavy and restless.
that perfectly describes that overwhelming feeling when you walk into certain antique stores. You want to escape.
Exactly. The density of objects acts like energetic gravity. And finally, the fourth category. This one is arguably the most insidious because it actively leeches your life force and hits your productivity the hardest. Incomplete tasks.
The things that are almost done, but not quite.
This type of clutter is often seen as the most dangerous because it's not just a piece of stuff. It's a constant physical reminder of failure or unfulfilled commitment or procrastination. Think of the half-painted wall in the living room.
Or the broken watch that's just waiting for a new battery. The coat that needs a button sewn on.
All of it.
Why is this one the most draining, though?
Because these constant reminders are continuously draining your essential life force. Your brain cannot fully rest knowing they exist. Subconsciously, your internal operating system allocates a fraction of its precious resources, its cognitive bandwidth, to tracking every single one of those unfinished projects. It's waiting for the signal to resolve them.
It's a continuous low-level hum of anxiety.
It is.
Yeah.
The physical mess is just the physical projection of unresolved mental tension. When you finally clear this type of clutter, you're not just gaining space, you're gaining a tremendous amount of mental capacity back.
Let's dig deeper into that idea, the energetic drain, especially how it relates to our physical health. I mentioned it earlier, that phenomenon of waking up after what should have been a good night's sleep, but you feel just profoundly exhausted. Or feeling perfectly fine when you're out of the house, but the moment you walk back through your own front door, your body just feels heavy. Your shoulders slump. You're inexplicably fatigued. Kingston calls this the debilitating effect of stagnant energy.
This is the practical daily manifestation of that clutter dam we were talking about. The energy in the home, being slow and bossy, exerts a physical drag on you. It's an environmental fatigue. The anecdote of Rohan, the software engineer who worked from home, is the perfect illustration of how serious this can be.
Right, so he was young, he was medically healthy, relatively active, but he suffered from this constant, deep, inexplicable fatigue.
He went through all the medical tests, and they found nothing. His exhaustion was purely environmental and energetic.
And the physical cause was so simple. It was old boxes and broken junk stored for years on top of his cupboard. Stuff he never even saw, but he knew it was there. And he thought, how could that possibly be affecting my vitality?
Yet the moment he removed those old, broken, and useless items, Rohan reported a dramatic and immediate shift in his energy levels. And to an outside observer, this sounds like magic or, a placebo effect.
Right.
But the source explains this through the underlying mechanism it calls the energy code.
Okay, the energy code. We need to go beyond just a simple analogy here and really understand how an inanimate object can steal physiological energy.
Okay, so the premise is rooted in cognitive load theory and subconscious commitment. We are unconsciously, energetically, and psychologically connected to every single item we call ours. The energy code is the continuous low-level cognitive process that's required to maintain that connection.
So if I have 100 items I haven't used in 5 years.
Your brain is still dedicating a fraction of its bandwidth, a tiny sliver of its processing power, to maintaining a relationship with each of those 100 objects. It's tracking their location, it's filing away the knowledge that they exist, and it's processing the underlying guilt, I should use that, or the fear, I might need that.
So it's not a spiritual drain so much as a practical expenditure of mental bandwidth.
It's both, and they're intertwined. The physical body and mind expend unconscious energy on the maintenance of objects, even totally useless objects. If your mind is running 100 useless background programs all day, every day, the entire system slows down. It gets sluggish, unproductive, and tired.
So clearing the clutter is like closing those useless background programs.
It is the conscious, decisive act of closing them. It allows your essential life force to stop being wasted on maintaining irrelevant objects and to return immediately to you, where you can actually use it for clear thinking, creativity, and physical vitality.
So clutter is literally fragmenting our attention and our energy, even when we think we're ignoring it.
Absolutely. And this fragmentation, it acts like a psychological cage. It anchors us to the past, which prevents any real forward movement in life. This applies to leaving a toxic job, starting a new project, or, critically, moving on from a relationship that's ended.
That's the anecdote of the woman who couldn't move on after her breakup. She desperately wanted to move forward, but she still had all of her ex-boyfriend's gifts, photos, letters.
And even though she packed them all neatly away in a box, hidden from sight, she couldn't escape the energetic pull.
The hidden box became her emotional anchor.
That's the perfect word for it. The items were physically gone from her sight, but the emotional commitment, the knowledge that they existed, the potential to reopen that wound, was still demanding energy. The box acted like an internal mooring line, keeping her lifeboat stuck in the dock of the past relationship. Until that physical, symbolic anchor was raised and released, her energy couldn't fully invest in the open sea of the future.
This deep connection between physical possessions and our energy is just perfectly encapsulated in what the source calls the 80-80 rule. I think we need to delve into the implications of that.
The 80-80 rule is a brutal but very useful metric for self-assessment. It says that if 80% of your possessions are emotionally or practically linked to the past, so old memories, old versions of yourself, previous relationships, jobs, homes,
then 80% of your current life force energy is dedicated to maintaining that past.
right,
Which means only 20% of your energy is available to create a future. It's a staggering limitation.
it's a massive block. If you are applying 80% of your vital resources to maintaining yesterday, you simply cannot generate the momentum or the focus or the enthusiasm required to genuinely welcome new opportunities, new people, or new directions into your life. So clearing those items isn't just throwing out junk.
It's a statement.
It is an active, conscious announcement to your subconscious that you are finally done with that old story. And it frees up 80% of your energy pool for immediate use in the present and the future.
Okay, so we've established that clutter is psychological, it's draining, it's time-consuming. But I think a lot of listeners are still paralyzed, not by the amount of stuff, but by the actual decision-making process. What is the real obstacle that stops us from starting? Kingston identifies it immediately. It's not a lack of time. It's the entrenched fear of letting go. It's the fear of scarcity.
That fear of scarcity, expressed in that one little thought, what if I need it later? That is the great paralyzer. We saw this in the case of the man who had a decade's worth of old newspapers in his garage.
10 years worth.
Never looked at them. Not once. But he couldn't physically part with them because he was terrified that some critical, vital piece of information might be hidden somewhere in that pile. The fear of missing out kept the entire space and his own decision-making capacity completely locked up.
So that kind of hoarding, it's an act of insecurity, not resourcefulness.
Yeah.
And Kingston offers this beautiful, really profound counterpoint to that fear.
She does. She suggests that holding on to things out of fear actively blocks the entry of love, security, and new opportunities into your life. You are subconsciously telling the universe, I don't trust you. Therefore, the act of letting go is transformed. It's not a difficult physical task anymore. It becomes an essential spiritual act of trust. It's a leap of faith. Trusting that life will provide exactly what you need when you need it, rather than you having to hoard against some imaginary future disaster. That shift in belief has to come before the action can be successful.
Okay, so once we've recalibrated our mindset toward trust, where do we physically begin? Because the universal mistake is looking at the entire house, the attic, the basement, all of it, and trying to tackle it all at once.
That approach is just guaranteed to cause burnout and instant failure. The advice from the source is incredibly pragmatic. Start small. Pick one small, easy, low-stakes target. Don't worry about the massive projects yet. Just start with a drawer.
Like the junk drawer.
The dreaded kitchen junk drawer is perfect. It's filled with old spoons, broken lighters, expired spice packets, stuff that can realistically be cleared out in 20 or 30 minutes.
That small, achievable win is so critical. It gives you immediate momentum, a tangible sense of accomplishment, and the confidence you need to tackle the next slightly larger task.
And to make sure those small victories are effective, you need a precise, almost cold-blooded decision-making tool. This is where the clutter test comes in. It's 3 simple, powerful questions you have to apply to every single item you hold in your hand.
Let's walk through them because the nuance here is really vital. Question 1. Do I truly like this?
And the source stresses the answer has to come instantly from the heart, not from the rationalizing brain. You have to avoid thoughts like, well, it was expensive or it's practical. If you don't genuinely love it, if it doesn't make you feel good, the answer is no. If it only sparks guilt or indifference, it's out.
Okay. Question 2. Do I actually use this?
This is the practicality test. And the crucial metric here is the time frame. If you haven't used it in over a year, the practical answer is almost certainly no. If you've survived 4 full seasons without needing it, it is functionally inert clutter. Any rationalizing about future use is just the scarcity mindset creeping back in.
And question 3, which kind of synthesizes the emotional and the practical. Does it give me a good feeling?
This is the ultimate energetic filter. If you hold the item and it reminds you of a bad memory, a failure, or it just makes you feel nothing, it fails the test. If the answer to any of those 3 questions is a solid no, it is confirmed clutter and it must leave your space immediately.
But inevitably, even with that clear test, the real roadblock always shows up, the maybe pile. The items that fail the test but trigger this massive paralyzing decision fatigue. We all have that old pair of jeans that might fit again someday.
Or the slightly damaged tool that could be useful if you ever get around to fixing it. That agonizing maybe pile is the death of any decluttering effort. People spend more time agonizing over the maybe than they do discarding the clear no items. To defeat this, Kingston provides the powerful, decisive technique of the dilemma box.
Explain how that works physically.
Okay, you get a box, you label it clearly with today's date, and you place every single maybe item inside. Then, and this is the important part, you label the box with a date 6 months in the future. The items are now immediately gone from your living space, which frees up that visual and physical clutter right away.
And the genius of the dilemma box is the commitment you make to that future date.
Absolutely. The rule is unwavering. If, after those full 6 months have passed, you have not once remembered or had a genuine immediate need for anything inside that box, you donate or dispose of the entire box without opening.
Without opening it, that's the key.
That's the key. It completely bypasses all the emotional and logical overthinking. It simplifies the decision-making process 1,000 times. You just have to trust that if you truly needed it, you would have gotten it out. If you didn't, it was just fear holding on.
All right, so once we've harnessed the power of starting small and using the decisive dilemma box, we can tackle specific zones that have specific energetic meanings in Feng Shui. Let's start with paper clutter, which, it feels like an ever-increasing, overwhelming mental burden in our world.
Paper clutter is unique because it combines all the negative traits we've talked about. It causes immense mental stress because of the fear of losing important documents. That's the scarcity mindset.
Right.
And the sheer volume often paralyzes the mind into inaction. That's the incomplete task. We have the anecdote of the gentleman who tried to create a filing system but was just so overwhelmed by this massive mountain of bills, statements, old wedding cards, years of receipts.
He just gave up.
He suffered from analysis paralysis and shoved it all back in the drawer, which just doubled the mental burden.
That paralysis is the problem. You need a system that forces immediate, non-negotiable clarity. And the solution for papers is the simple but incredibly effective 4-pile system.
This system takes all that chaos and funnels it into 4 distinct functional categories. You gather all the papers into one spot, and then you swiftly sort them. Pile 1 is action. Papers that need immediate attention, like paying a bill. This pile has to be dealt with today.
Okay.
Pile 2 is filing. Necessary documents you have to keep long-term. Tax forms, legal documents. This should actually be a pretty small pile.
What's next?
Pile 3 is recycle. Anything that's no longer needed. Old receipts, expired warranties, junk mail. And finally, pile 4 is to read magazines, articles, other non-essential stuff.
The crucial step here must be the immediate physical removal of the recycle pile and quickly processing the action pile. Once you see that unnecessary bulk gone, the other 2 piles become instantly manageable.
And that's where the statistic comes in, which is maybe the single most motivating fact in this whole process. Kingston states that 98% of the papers we save are never looked at again.
98%.
Just think about that. We dedicate 98% of our valuable paper storage space and the mental energy required to maintain it to things that are literally, definitively useless to our future. That knowledge alone should make the recycling bin look like a gateway to freedom.
Okay, moving from the stress of the office desk to what should be our sanctuary, the bedroom. In Feng Shui, the bedroom is fundamentally linked to our health, our quality of rest, and the vitality of our personal relationship.
Absolutely. And clutter in this space directly affects your sleep, your restfulness, and your emotional well-being. The source offers a really potent example of a couple who were constantly irritable, always fighting, and just generally felt unpeaceful in their shared space.
And their relationship tension was being amplified by their environment.
Profoundly. The key culprits were traced to a few specific items. They had a massive treadmill right in the bedroom, and it was often draped with clothes.
Okay, I get the physical clutter of the clothes, but why is a treadmill in the bedroom so energetically toxic?
Because it imports the energetic signature of strenuous effort, of exertion, of obligation and tension directly into a space that is fundamentally dedicated to relaxation, vulnerability, and romance. The bedroom should be a place of low effort and high peace. The moment you bring work or exercise or incomplete tasks into it, you pollute that resting energy.
Making deep rest and intimacy difficult.
Very difficult. And then there's the space underneath the bed. They had old boxes, random storage containers, unused shoes under there. This violates the first critical bedroom rule. The space under the bed must be kept completely empty.
For free energy flow.
Right. This is crucial because during sleep, your body and mind are trying to heal, repair, and reorganize. If the space directly beneath you is choked with stagnant old energy, especially things tied to old relationships or past failures, it creates complications and restlessness. It physically prevents a full recharge.
So no exceptions. No seasonal clothes or extra linens.
Ideally, this space should be completely clear. The other rules are just as direct. Remove all work-related items, files, computers, visible, unfinished projects. The room should only serve rest and romance. And only keep beautiful things in there that invoke peace. Broken, sad, or depressing items will create stagnant energy in your love life and your healing process.
Finally, let's shift to the kitchen. This is called the heart of the home, the source of nourishment, and significantly, the conduit for financial energy and wealth.
So a cluttered kitchen is a recipe for blocked health and blocked wealth. We have the example of a family struggling with chronic financial woes and frequent unexplained sickness. Their kitchen countertops were just choked with unused appliances, old containers, unnecessary gadgets, and dented broken pots and pans.
How does that block money energy specifically?
The countertop and the main prep surfaces, they symbolize the place of creation and provision. When those surfaces are suffocated by clutter, it metaphorically puts a lid on new opportunities and the flow of financial abundance. If you can't clearly access the tools for nourishment, you're signaling a block in your ability to provide for yourself and your family.
And the most specific detail related to wealth is the stove.
Absolutely. In Feng Shui, the stove, specifically the gas burners, is the central potent symbol of wealth and earning potential. Therefore, it must be kept meticulously clean. And even more importantly, all the burners have to be used in rotation.
What happens if they're not?
If the stove is filthy, or if some burners are just perpetually unused and neglected, it signals blocks in your earning potential. It signals income stagnation, a failure to utilize all available income streams. When you actively honor the kitchen by keeping it clean, using its tools, making sure the stove is vibrant, you are actively honoring your health and your wealth at the same time.
Now we have to face one of the biggest emotional challenges of decluttering, navigating the mess created by other people. I'm sure many listeners are completely on board with this philosophy, but they live with partners or children or roommates who are resistant, maybe even hostile to the idea. So how do you handle someone else's clutter without turning your relationship into an emotional battlefield?
This is such a classic source of domestic strife. And the source provides a vital cautionary tale. The wife who, in a moment of just extreme frustration over her husband's constant mess of work files, angrily decided to take matters into her own hands.
And she threw his papers away.
She threw them away. The result, predictably, was not a clean house and gratitude. It was a huge, bitter fight and profoundly damaged trust in the relationship.
Which establishes the critical golden rule: you absolutely cannot forcibly clean someone else's clutter.
You cannot. Kingston stresses the profound personal energy connection people have to their belongings, even to the items that are objectively messy. When you remove their things without permission, It's subconsciously perceived as a massive attack on their personal energy space and their autonomy.
And that just triggers defiance.
Instantly. It triggers defiance, deep resentment, and a desire to rebel. It guarantees that any peace you seek through forced control will backfire.
So if anger and force are off the table, what is the truly effective solution to inspire change in a shared space?
The only sustainable solution is to lead by example. You have to rigidly focus only on your own sphere of influence.
Yeah.
Your side of the bed, your drawers, your personal coverage, your own desk. Make your space immaculately organized, peaceful, and beautiful.
And the energy from that personal piece is the real motivator.
Precisely. Your resulting calmness, your increased productivity, and the visible happiness you get from an organized space will serve as a much more powerful, non-confrontational inspiration for change than any amount of yelling or nagging ever could. People are naturally drawn to peace and order. They are repelled by conflict and control. By claiming your peace, you subtly invite them to claim their own.
That concept of inner peace takes us to the inevitable truth. Physical mess is often just a symptom of a deeper problem. Clutter exists powerfully in the mind, too, what we call mental clutter.
Chronic worries, unresolved regrets, future anxieties, looping internal arguments.
And the source makes this definitive, inescapable link. The external physical environment is the precise mirror of the internal mental environment. The state of your physical space reflects the state of your mind.
The writer who couldn't focus on his manuscript perfectly illustrates this. His study table was just chaos stacks of unrelated books, old coffee mugs, random pieces of electronics. That physical confusion was a direct, accurate reflection of the confusion and distraction churning in his own mind.
So the simple, tangible act of physical cleaning becomes a direct intervention. It's a form of practical, applied mental health.
Yes, physical cleaning acts like active meditation for the mind. As you meticulously bring order to the outer, visible world, filing papers, sorting drawers, aligning objects, your internal thoughts spontaneously become clearer and more focused. Decisions that felt overwhelming suddenly become simpler. The act of bringing palpable order to your space generates immediate peace in your psyche. The clarity of the counter enables the clarity of the mind.
And for those who struggle specifically with those mental loops at night, the ones that lead to sleeplessness, Kingston offers a very actionable mental decluttering tip.
Yes. To combat that constant spinning of the subconscious mind, you should ritualistically write down your daily thoughts, your worries, your to-do lists, your unresolved arguments. Write it all down in a diary or journal before you go to sleep.
You're offloading it.
You are externally offloading the mental clutter that keeps the subconscious spinning. By physically transferring those anxieties onto paper, you signal to your brain that the information is safely stored and no longer needs immediate active internal maintenance. This allows your mind to rest fully, so you can wake up with a fresher, lighter perspective. When your home and your mind are both clutter-free, your true potential is finally unlocked.
Okay, so achieving a clean house is a huge first victory, but the real war, as we all know, is the daily battle against procrastination. That universal habit of saying, "I'll do it later," is just a form of accumulated stagnant energy. It guarantees that small messes will build into catastrophic piles over time.
And the accumulation is so insidious because of the energy drain it causes. Look at the simple example of the boy with the pile of clothes building up behind his door. He always intended to put them away on Sunday, but that Sunday never came.
Right.
Consequently, every single morning, he wasted 15 minutes frantically searching and stressing over what he needed to wear. That small, persistent act of procrastination wasted his time, wasted his energy, and created daily friction.
So to defeat this and break the habit of delay, we need what is basically a behavioral hack, the 2-minute rule.
This rule is rigid, it's non-negotiable, and its consistent application is the absolute key to long-term freedom. The principle is this: if a task takes 2 minutes or less to complete, you must do it immediately, right then and there.
So putting keys away the instant you walk in the door?
Filing a letter or tossing junk mail right after you read it. Wiping up a spill immediately. Moving laundry directly into the basket instead of leaving it on the floor.
It's the cumulative effect of all those micro decisions that sustains the order.
Exactly. This simple habit breaks the cycle of accumulating small messes. And small messes are the building blocks of massive clutter. By following the 2-minute rule religiously, you prevent that buildup, and the house effectively stays organized automatically.
And now let's explore what is maybe the most surprising and counterintuitive connection in the sources, one that links our environment to our physical well-being, the relationship between clutter and weight.
It seems like a huge conceptual leap, I know. But the Feng Shui perspective views the house as a powerful, energetic extension of the body itself. So the same way that stagnant, blocked energy in your home causes mental sluggishness, it can directly translate to stagnant energy in the body. And that can manifest physically as stubborn weight gain or an inability to maintain energy.
We discussed the anecdote of the woman who struggles so fiercely with weight loss, despite trying every logical diet and exercise plan out there. Her breakthrough wasn't in a new meal plan, it was in her bedroom closet.
Her closets were crammed full of clothes that no longer fit. And critically, they weren't all too small. It was a mix of clothes saved for a theoretical future skinnier self and a significant amount of clothing that was two large remnants of her heaviest self.
So she was subconsciously anchoring her identity to two versions of herself that were not the present healthy person she wanted to be.
Exactly. The clothes that were too large were keeping her tied to the energy of obesity.
So the physical act of clearing the house, and specifically the closet, it stimulates energy flow not just spatially, but physiologically.
Absolutely. Removing those non-fitting clothes, both the too large reminders and the too small promises, signifies this powerful act of radical self-acceptance in the present moment. And that self-acceptance is often the essential non-physical first step in any successful long-term health journey. Clearing the home stimulates active energy flow in the body, which naturally makes you feel lighter, more energetic, and more motivated.
So cleaning the house is the first victory, but maintenance is the ultimate challenge. What are the two most essential habits Kingston recommends for staying perpetually clutter-free?
Okay, these two habits solidify the long-term lifestyle change. The first is the one in, one out rule. Whenever any new item enters your home, an old item of the same type must be immediately designated to leave. If you buy a new jacket, an old one has to be donated or discarded.
This keeps the volume fixed. It forces you to be intentional with every single purchase.
Exactly. The second crucial habit is the 10-minute nightly cleanup. This isn't a deep clean. It is a short, intentional burst of effort right before bed. A reset button to put everything back in its place. This restoration of order prevents the small messes of the day from becoming overwhelming mountains by the end of the week.
And the final beautiful promise of this consistent practice is, it's a radical shift in your reality.
The benefits are profound. Your physical energy returns. Morning fatigue vanishes. Your focus and decision-making power improve dramatically. And the source suggests that miracles start happening because that vacant, energetically clean space is actively filled with new opportunities, new relationships, new projects. You are consciously taking your life force energy back from useless objects and powerfully redirecting it toward your dreams.
And there's one final, almost ceremonial step after all the physical cleaning is done. Space clearing.
Yes. Even after every physical piece of clutter is gone, heavy, dense, old energy, the kind that creates that oppressive feeling in old houses, can still linger in the air. This residue of past tension or anxiety or sadness is the invisible imprint of the past.
So you have to clean the air itself.
To decisively break up this heavy energy, you perform space clearing ritual. The suggested method is to go into every corner of your room and, with intention, clap loudly and sharply, or use a bell with a high penetrating sound. The strong, resonant vibrations literally shatter and disperse the stagnant energy, effectively transforming the house from a storage unit into a temple of peace and vitality. This deep dive into Karen Kingston's work has really illustrated that this whole process, it was never just about being organized. It was a profound, multi-layered strategy for unlocking your potential. We've analyzed how these deep psychological anchors, physical blockages, and the pervasive fear of scarcity all conspire to steal your focus and drain your vitality every single day.
And the actionable framework she provides, the clutter test, the dilemma box, the 2-minute rule, it gives you the actual tools you need to systematically redirect that stolen life force energy back toward your goals.
It really does.
So what does this all mean for the person listening right now? I think the ultimate profound message is that achieving a lighter, freer, more energized life often begins with an incredibly small, intentional step. It starts with cleaning just one single drawer. Start small, trust the process of release, and recognize that fundamental, non-negotiable link between a clarity of your outer environment and the clarity and peace of your inner state.
This raises such an important question for all of us to think about moving forward. How often in our daily lives do we acquire things, physical objects, commitments, new habits out of fear or obligation or some psychological coping mechanism, versus acquiring something based on a genuine, immediate necessity and a real heart-centered desire?
The source material beautifully compares maintaining a clean, vibrant home to a gardener tending a beautiful garden. It's not seen as a one-time painful project, it's a continuous, intentional, and deeply rewarding lifestyle. So embrace that intentionality. And the final provocative thought to carry with you today is this. Before you purchase anything new or accept any new obligation, just pause and ask yourself not, can I afford this, but the far more powerful question. Will this item actively help me move forward, or is this just adding another unnecessary anchor to my life? Go breathe freely, starting right now.